So Amy's making mobile phone cases and she wants to be able to devise a test which can be repeated every time the machine is maintained. So let's help her to do that. So we've been told we can use a binomial distribution, and we're taking a random sample of 200 of the cases, and the fault rate has historically been 4.5%. So that says we're using the binomial distribution B200P, and our null and alternate hypotheses, we're looking at whether the machine performs differently, whether there's been any change. So the null hypothesis is that the P, the proportion, is 0.045, but the alternate hypothesis is that P is not equal to 0.045. So we're talking about a two-tailed test, and because we're talking about a significance level of 10%, we've got 5% in each tail. So looking at the lower end of the tail, I was using my calculator, which only gives me, the probability that x is less than or equal to a number. So I had to, and I used the list facility rather than variable, and I fiddled about and got these numbers. Probability that x is less than or equal to 3 is that, whereas x less than or equal to 4 is that. Now this is the number which is below 5%, so that forms the lower part of my critical region. So x less than or equal to 3 is the lower part of the critical region. It took me a little while longer to fiddle about and find the relevant values for the upper tail, and I eventually came down to greater than or equal to 12, 13, 14 and 15. These are the numbers that I calculated from my calculator, and so the probability, for example, of x being greater than or equal to 12 is 1 minus the probability that x is less than or equal to 11, remembering that my calculator only gives me figures for x is less than or equal to a number. So when I look at all of the calculations here, then this one here is the first one, which is below 5%. So x is greater than or equal to 15 is the upper part of my critical region, and so the final answer is there. X is less than or equal to 3, or x is greater than or equal to 15. So that's the answer to that question.